Hey, you know what would go good with these sandwiches? Funny internet videos.
Michelle and Hillary and Palin, it's a fucking foursome.
Hello, I'm the Nostalgia Critic. I remember it so you don't have to.
The Nostalgia Critic is a character played by Douglas Funny Man Walker, whose origin can be traced back to the angry video game nerd, who is a character played by James Bimmy Duncan Rolfe. Bimmy, I'd argue, is a beloved but still underappreciated figure in internet history given what he influenced, the genre of angry reviewing and just reviewing in general, with many odds and ends of the James influence being prevalent, but sometimes for the worst.
Hey, look at this. I've been cleaning out my nest, and I found an old book of my poetry.
Was always positive, he was always upbeat, he was always talkative. Even if you were in a bad mood or you were in an awkward situation or something wasn't comfortable, he would always start talking, he would always try to cheer you up.
This game sucks.
Those little tiger, electronic wrist games, those are better than Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde.
Ooh boy, I hate this game. I mean, it makes me want to kill myself.
When I say James is underappreciated, I say that because he didn't influence things like funny cat videos, celebrity gossip, shopping vlogs, stealing other people's content. You know, like that really economically viable shit that your stupid spoiled whore cousin watches.
Is like a butt.
Yeah, it's like when someone has a good butt.
And let's be real, does your stupid spoiled whore cousin watch Angry Video Game Nerd? Probably not. Even if you hate him, every respected reviewer's origin can be traced back to Bimmy. If he isn't a favorite of yours, then he's probably your favorite reviewer's favorite reviewer, or is part of your favorite reviewer's family tree of some sort. Bimmy, being in his 20s, had the advantage of an artistic background in a time of early internet mass unprofessionalism, and made game reviews on a next to nothing budget besides what he already owned. And he had the homemade craftsmanship and the acting skill to be as funny as television in terms of audience reception.
How would you like it if I conduct the rest of the video like this? Full motion video, my ass. I'd rather it be full fucking screen.
Technology was changing, as well as the standards of stupid internet videos. James was probably the first person to have a successful, proper modern-day web series. I mean, like Fred Figglehorn, who was the first channel to get 1 million subscribers, was kind of like the Nerd in a way, just on the basis that there was a distinguishable character comedy act and a reoccurring series to go along with it. So the people watching at home realized that there weren't a whole lot of restrictions to making Bimmy's stupid homemade movies, with some being declared rip-offs and others being declared as spiritual successors. And I say declared rip-offs because the people who weren't acclaimed, I don't think were necessarily plagiarizing AVGN for clicks. They just didn't put enough thought into how to be unique. Like, people assumed the Irate Gamer was a Screenwave's Monster Madness writer, but I think it would be more reasonable to call him inspired but unoriginal. He just didn't bring anything that new to the table, unlike JonTron, for example, whose earliest reviews were clearly inspired by the nerd, but he put enough thought into his topics and his presentation over the course of his catalog, and now has double the numbers Bimmy has, but not the level of street cred Bimmy has. Can't forget such assumed plagiarists like the angry hardcore pissed off gamer.
The original Nintendo Entertainment System sucked because he had to perform a certain amount of blowjobs on the cartridges in order for the games to work.
The Game Dude.
Look at Barbie. What a scary bitch.
Once Upon a Dream. Huh, that's original. What a great book.
You've only read 4 words, you dumb bitch.
Dr. X Henry.
Oh my god, that's just dumb. Look at that. Why would they put that in a video game? Yes, there's literally a character that you can unlock that is a ran over dead cat. Oh, what were they thinking?
However, easily the most notable, seemingly inspired by the nerd, was Doug Walker's The Nostalgia Critic, who applied the pre-existing angry reviewer shtick and put it into his own brand of comedy, and shook the formula up by talking about movies, which was kind of a revolutionary concept at the time, proving that you didn't need to be Roger Ebert or whatever to be a successful film critic. Doug had a background in both studying film, although majoring in communications, and comedically summarizing movies. First through his 5-second movie series featuring the epic episode of Batman and Robin where Doug takes a shit on camera. Search for it if you really want to see Doug's hairy asshole. But like most of early YouTube featuring featuring copyrighted content, it was taken down, because it wasn't super transformative and it wasn't necessarily fair use, which seemingly caused a motivation to make fair use content, which could be applied through the concept of the Nostalgia Critic, Doug's spin on the nerd. Early YouTube's strict copyright policies is very apparent in the first Nostalgia Critic episode, Transformers 2007, which didn't use any copyrighted footage and just featured Doug talking, but this was altered with episode 2, Cartoon All-Stars to the Rescue, which was legally in fair use and had the benefit to visually convey Doug's criticisms, unlike the Transformers 2007 episode.
Oh my god, George Bush is starting this thing off!
But even if he began to make fair use, Doug continued to face copyright complications despite his videos now being more legal than ever. In mid to late 2006, YouTuber was barely a respected profession. You know, this isn't nowadays where every kid wants to be Mr. Beast. And people began to become very optimistic towards the future of the potential economic viability of YouTube. Thanks to technology, we could have another way that would allow you to get out of the hood and have some fun. I mean, like, why sell crack when you could bitch about Care Bears? And given Doug's film background, he was professional enough, and subsequently, just like James, Nostalgia Critic began to get his assumed plagiarists. From my personal exposure, I believe there's more Nostalgia Critic clones than AVGN clones. And, like, Nostalgia Critic clones still pop up on occasion, but like AVGN clones are kind of a thing of the past. The new generation is making Scott the Woz clones, but Nostalgia Critic clones haven't really gone anywhere.
They are all dumb idiots with no story, no motive, no reason, and no background checks, and therefore cannot be considered legit people.
Thanks, Doug. However, one crucial aspect about making money off YouTube was that YouTube partnerships weren't commonplace yet. And in a time of new monetization, YouTube really wasn't monetizing unhinged nerd comedy acts.
Alvin and the Chipmunks. Alvin and the Chipmunks. Alvin and the Chipmunks. More like Alvin and the Shitmonks.
They wouldn't want that to be the face of their platform. Who else besides fellow nerds watches this shit? That's not gonna appeal to your stupid spoiled whore cousin. So most of the big faces of the AVGN-inspired genre began to be associated on other websites, because the most successful of the reviewers had the audience, but not the contracts to ring in the dough. Nostalgia Critic seemingly having the second largest audience behind AVGN. But the nerd himself, for years, was primarily hosted on game trailers, a news source for video games that would probably get a kick out of screaming over NES games.
Well, I hope you're proud of yourself, and you know what I mean, you fucking whore.
I'm not bad. I'm just drawn that way.
Yeah, well, wait till I draw your suicide note in your own blood, you bunny fucking bitch. I'm coming over, I'm gonna kill you. I'm gonna kill your whole motherfucking family.
But Doug went the opposite route, not partnering with another company, but forming another company, called Channel Awesome, which hosted Doug's website, That Guy with the Glasses, but was later fully rebranded to match the company name Channel Awesome. Doug was not one of the business founders legally, but he is the face of the company and is assumed to have some authority and control. So Doug, knowing that he was a part of this genre, eventually decided to expand the website to feature other people of his genre, a lot of which were directly inspired by his success if it wasn't James's success. However, nobody, not even Doug, was ever on the quality James had in his prime, and as a result of producing low quality in high quantity, this is what cemented Channel Awesome as to what I consider to be the largest rabbit hole of crap originating from the internet. The people Doug and company hired to help contribute to content output were drastically unqualified and mostly just people who were doing the same thing as him or James, but worse. But like I said, Doug had an audience that was the big dog of the genre next to the nerd, eventually leading to various collaborations of creating a fictional rivalry between AVGN and Nostalgia Critic in character, which started as back and forth bickering videos, but eventually evolved into full-on fight videos. And by the time of preparing for the 1-year anniversary of the That Guy with the Glasses website, a video in celebration was created, called the That Guy with the Glasses 1-year anniversary brawl, featuring all the notable contributors to Channel Awesome, plus the Nerd and Kyle Justin from the Nerd, and Matee from Captain Planet. Yeah, so in Nostalgia Critic episode 16, Doug got one of his technical supervisors to impersonate Matee from Captain Planet.
I recently sat down with Matee this past week to find out just how he felt about this situation.
I'll tell you how I feel about the whole situation. I'm fucking pissed off, man. You know?
And I guess it was a fine Family Guy cutaway gag for the video, but the character was brought back on multiple instances, which is odd because it's a niche thing to parody, unlike the AVGN parodies of classic characters.
Holy shit! It's Spider-Man!
But all the reviewers joined side in a war against each other, eventually escalating into a fight featuring Super Mecha Death Christ from AVGN. And the 1-year anniversary brawl is very dated, but a harmless, goofy old internet video that doesn't bite off more than it can chew. It was a hit, getting to see everybody together in a quick, fun, violent watch. For the 2nd anniversary, a special event was conceived. A full Nostalgia Critic movie. Now, how do you turn clip screaming YouTube videos into a movie? Well, I guess to make it in the spirit of the anniversary brawl, but that's a short, goofy YouTube video. How do you make that into a movie? Well, they did it anyway. Kickassia is a 90-minute miniseries that can also be watched as a movie, and is about Nostalgia Critic and company trying to take over the micronation of Molossia. Molossia is a micronation located in Nevada, not recognized by the United Nations. The project serving as a crossover of the various Channel Awesome web shows. And this was 2010, before the Avengers, a time where crossovers actually meant something, unlike today where everything is a crossover, multiverse, or whatnot. Hollywood Blues makes you want to holler sometimes and throw up both your hands. And I gotta say, the concept is genuinely funny, of a bunch of jackasses trying to invade a large plot of land that isn't a very well-known part of American history. It's also a clever workaround for a low budget, not having a super expensive place to film in, considering, well, they did it on a small budget. Now, obviously, it was a micro budget, but the production did have a budget. I don't know how much, but it did. But clearly, not much else was spent in the technical department. Like, I'm not sure how much money they had. They couldn't have spent more money on better cameras and like lights and shit, even if it meant delaying the project. Like, considering it was 2010, it's better than like iPod Touch 3 quality. But this is supposed to be like an epic movie, not a dumb YouTube video where, you know, the little technical bullshit doesn't really matter. And I say epic movie because they sold this for money. Now, there's tons of unofficial YouTube re-uploads and Internet Archive re-uploads that Mike Machode hasn't struck down yet. But on Channel Awesome's YouTube channel, there is no official upload. Like, they want you to buy this on DVD, which are kind of rare collector's items from the minimum manufacturing. A lot of the time, the camera isn't even in focus, and there's so much shaky cam for no reason, and the angles are shit. Half the time, the windows are being filmed and the sunlight is visible. And yeah, lighting natural light into the room isn't bad, but why are you filming the light? Oh, it's because Juwario's in heaven. So, Nostalgia Critic, because movie, wants control of Molossia, and we actually see the founder of Molossia, Kevin Baugh. This movie was probably the largest piece of publicity Molossia has ever gotten, and the founder got a chance to play himself in the movie. And Kevin Baugh, besides this a completely inexperienced entertainer, actually gives one of the best performances of the movie. The first scene of Critic confronting Baugh goes on for way too long, which is just an issue with Channel Awesome and Doug's writing in general. Doug and company's inability to condense an analysis extends to their fictional writing. Like, this joke is funny.
Are you a Nazi, Linkara?
No.
Are you a Nazi, Linkara? No.
But then it's immediately ruined by going on for another 2 minutes of praising Nazis. So Doug commits a war threat and he has to assemble his army of shitty YouTubers. This isn't every Channel Awesome contributor, just the most notable turds from the shitter. If you don't know who these people are, I don't fucking blame you, but they're just formal Channel Awesome reviewers. The movie doesn't even establish who they are, so why should I? Crossing over different web show hosts with no context. Most of the other characters are just really vanilla hosts or obnoxious obnoxious man-children. Spoonie and Cinema Snub are tolerable, I guess they have some personality, but everyone else just acts completely unenthusiastic or just doing a Doug impression because he wrote this. This movie is not helped by the fact that there's like 18 fucking protagonists, and it's immediately hard to contemplate what the fuck is even happening. The shots of all the reviewers look like shit, everyone looks just confused and clearly doesn't want to be here. The actual crossover aspect is extremely poorly balanced. If anything, he should have done something like The Great Muppet Caper, where it has a main trio of pre-existing characters, but all the other characters are still there, although in secondary roles, and get to help with stuff over the course of the movie.
Woof, 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 woof. It helps to know a second language.
So all the classic characters from the variety show are still in it, while still having identifiable protagonists. And keep in mind, this is Doug's favorite Muppet movie.
Honestly, my favorite Muppet film out of all of them is The Great Muppet Caper.
So how'd you fuck that up, jackass? So then they go to Molossia, leading to screaming for about 7 minutes straight. The fight choreography is so lazy, they keep looping the same punch sound effect over and over again. And then for comparison, you can watch the AVGN Bugs Bunny Birthday Blowout episode, which features some semblance of choreography, relying heavily on POV shots and close-ups to make movement more identifiable. The amount of cuts better identifying the physical contact between characters. And unlike this, they actually touch each other, which of course in post is edited to create the illusion of violence. Hell, even the AVGN versus Nostalgia Critic set in the James Nerd Room isn't poorly choreographed like this shit. Sure, it's a cheap Bugs Bunny Halloween costume, but the presentation makes that not matter because it's funny. This is why others inspired by AVGN tried to replicate it with other videos of fighting costumed characters like Game Dude.
You're awesome, but you suck. I'm shipping you to Finland.
And Dr. X Henry.
Playing a stupid game.
You want to? You want to go there?
There's also no fucking white flashes, which I feel were just frequently edited in to limit the chances of the audience recognizing the lack of physical contact. Oh shit, not Juwario's head! We even get fan service, which is commendable, I guess, featuring Lee from Still Gaming becoming human. One of the more obscure contributors in the rabbit hole, but his gimmick was that he only used flickering photographs instead of video, which was definitely unique.
Oh man, sorry, I'm a bit down in the dumps today. Sega almost got me this time. For some that aren't aware, Sonic the Hedgehog was great.
It's not an amazing gimmick, he wasn't a great host, but there was more substance than most, I'd say. But it happens like 30 minutes in and is completely anticlimactic. It was probably done quickly, so less of his character had to be edited in post with PNGs, so they successfully invade Molossia and turn it into Kickassia. 30 minutes into the movie, so what the fuck is even supposed to happen now? So now that they need to pad the movie out, it's time for useless garbage. So Nostalgia Critic becomes the dictator with Nostalgia Chick as the vice dictator. And they make Nostalgia Chick Sarah Palin.
This world is full of cruel, cold-hearted people, and they don't maintain the same standard of niceness that I try to maintain. Am I not nice?
So if you're 12 years old and not American, Sarah Palin was a largely disliked vice presidential candidate in the 2008 presidential election.
Palin is actually smart, cool, and pretty sexy too.
And the internet dunked on her in all its early internet glory, similar to Justin Bieber and Jar Jar Binks.
Could you do it, Sarah? Does it make you feel bigger when you pulled the trigger? Sarah Palin, you're worse than Michael Vick. You really make me sick. Ain't got no love for a canine killer.
But then everybody forgot about her.
Yeah, Obama! Change!
Like, whose favorite ERB is Sarah Palin versus Lady Gaga? Come on. I watch epic rap battles of Extreme like an adult.
I know a baby fat, but at least I'm not a geo!
So this Sarah Palin running gag was 2010, and it was immediately dated. Not that I've never made a dated Sarah Palin joke, but the nostalgia chick with the desire for control tries to kill Nostalgia Critic.
Say, Critic, do you get a lot of pussy with that outfit?
Of course!
Thank you.
Dude, I swear to God, if Doug was in school now, he'd be like the one kid fucking screaming the Among Us theme in the school corridors. I am the skibbity sussy toilet from Ohio. Douglas, calm down. Mr. Caldwell, I've got one question to ask you. What are those?
So everybody gets sick of Nostalgia Critic's corrupt leadership and they have to kill him too. And this is where the padding just becomes pure fan service instead of actual plot. So the shitty YouTuber army in rebellion unleashes Dr. Insano, a Jekyll and Hyde-like persona of Spoonie, who was a somewhat notable joke character in early channel awesome history, definitely more liked than Mati from Captain Planet, who also makes a pointless fan service cameo. But Dr. Insano was mainly the antagonist of early Atop the Fourth Wall, hosted by Linkara.
Dr. Insano! I should have known you'd be the one behind this. Becoming President of the United States could never be enough for you!
And this character was liked enough to be brought back on tons of other instances.
She experiment on my Spoonie till I go insano, am I right?
So Dr. Insano goes to fight Nostalgia Critic, which is like the shitty YouTuber equivalent of Palpatine and Yoda fighting in Revenge of the Sith. And it goes on for way too long to pad out the movie, and then Santa Christ shows up and dies because fan service. They still use Santa Christ annually. I guess he's liked by fans. I don't know why. Then we get a Board James cameo because fan service, Board James being one of the other characters James Rolfe played in a board game review show, which makes me curious as to an alternate reality where the nerd was a prominent character. And I assume James didn't have time for a large role in this project because of his strict game trailers contract, which he's publicly stated caused him burnout.
During the game trailers days, I had, like a contract to put out 2 episodes a month, and it just became too much eventually. And then I was like, you know what? Like, can we change this so that I just do 1 a month? And they were cool.
But also, Bimmy has to be done at 5:40.
Well, anyway, that's it. We just ran out of time because I have to be done at 5:40 right now.
But he could have been the one likable character. Then the shitty YouTuber army fights Doug, and Doug decides to resign like Nixon and learns that he fucking sucks at running micronations. So Kickassia is a movie that is so bad at ironic humor that it's somehow ironically funny, but not in the intended ironic brand of comedy. It's not funny ironically because the irony is intentional, so it's funny post-ironically. It's so bad at being bad on purpose that it makes it good. Like, I'd actually take this over a Fred movie any day, even though it probably should have just been a dumb short YouTube video like the 1-year anniversary brawl, and not a movie that they sold for money. So they scratched it off the bucket list, and they made a movie, and it was a hit with its limited audience. So for the 3rd anniversary, why not make a sequel somehow? So this movie, much like Kickassia, actually has a funny concept of jackasses LARPing around with real-world consequences. But once again, none of the jackasses are funny, and there's too many protagonists to count, and not even every member returned. So once again, instantly, all its potential is immediately thrown out the window. The technical quality was not upgraded either. Once again, the cameras are barely in focus. And they also tried to raise the stakes by making it 2 full hours, which in terms of dumb comedy movie standards, that's pretty fucking long. Which of course doesn't matter if it's funny. I mean, like, it's a mad, 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 mad world. Bimmy's favorite movie is 3.5 hours and it's hilarious. So this one has even more extra bullshit thrown into it, despite the first one already being too long at 90 minutes. Suburban Knights is also a mini-series like the previous, and it's a MacGuffin rat race, but with shitty YouTubers. And Nostalgia Critic is trying to find a gauntlet because money, and they're gonna do it by playing Dungeons and Dragons, but to actually get something real from their fictional characters.
Why does Doug wear like a t-shirt instead of a dress shirt? Is he stupid?
But Mati shows up unwanted, and for some reason he's like important to this movie, as if anybody gave a shit about him. There's also an antagonist who's just a shitty Matrix, I think, parody, who's barely in the movie, but at least there is one, that's not Doug. Then we waste a bunch of time establishing whoever shitty YouTuber is dressed up as. Doug is like Link, and his sword is on his dick for some reason.
I know a baby fat, but at least I'm not a geo.
began my own game of...
Oh damn, Quentin Reviews would really love these Lindsay Ellis jerk-off instruction scenes. Phalis has this awful running gag of playing with action figures.
My little friends, they've come to help stop the nothing. Say hello to my little friend.
Oh my god, it's
I mean, he's got the...
So the shitty YouTuber army begins to embark on their quest. And this movie actually breaks the characters up, which is a benefit because it makes it slightly easier to follow. And this is where the movie starts to look even shittier than Kickassia, because it's just an Illinois forest. Like, Kickassia at least took advantage of different places. There was some variety in the shot composition, but this is just a dying forest. Not helped by the fact that despite being a bigger and better sequel, there was no money thrown into the technical aspect. So both teams fight random other D&D participators who are all just shitty, unfunny man-children screaming in the woods. And it's basically the same scene over and over again for an hour. There is one overly long fight scene, which is on a playground and is the only attempt at actually fighting in suburbia. It's called Suburban Knights, but it's more like shitty Illinois woods nights.
You guys are here for the quest thing, right?
Oh shit, Lindsay, watch out, it's Quentin! The set design of Quentin Review's house looks like shit. It's just like laptops on the wall. So then they go to the bar from Video Game Confessions, one of Doug's more forgotten series because fan service. And we get to hear Bimmy's character, a random talking entity.
What about it?
You don't sound very ancient.
And you sound like an ass, so what's it to you?
Yeah, James fucking sucks in this movie. If anything, the nerd should have been the villain, because in Channel Awesome Lore, Critic and Nerd are established rivals. And again, I know, James was under a strict contract from Game Trailers. So, to make up for any time of James' financial losses from not working on nerd episodes, James' presence would probably jack the budget up a ton. But the nerd being the villain is a decision that makes too much sense in a movie where they didn't want to spend any cents. Oh shit, it's time for the epic final battle. It's just a car.jpg. They're just looping the same sword sound effect like the punches in Kickassia, and they get the gauntlet, which is the power glove because funny. And at the hour and 48-minute mark, they meet the villain. But then Mati shows up and sacrifices himself, saving the day, as if we're supposed to care that a shitty joke character died. And his death isn't played for laughs either. There's like an Amazing Grace funeral scene. You see, kids, this is what happens when you eat a Popeye's biscuit with no drink. And Doug is devastated, and he cremates Mati in a Quaker Oats can and throws it into the stratosphere. So Suburban Knights has some of the post-ironic redeeming qualities of Kickassia, but due to its increased flaws from increased ambition, the little positives of the previous are reduced, but not completely, so I guess it's watchable, but there's no reason to watch it over Kickassia. And it was seemingly a hit with its limited audience as well. I strongly believe Suburban Knights was the movie that broke Doug Walker, a man who was developing an ego, from the fact that he'd made a hit series with a ton of episodes, a hit network, and 2 hit movies. Even beginning his 5th year of Nostalgia Critic with episode 193 given the heavy quantity. This man was handed success instantly with a somehow revolutionary web series, and his ego was developing. And the movies were a hit with so little money. The second Suburban Knights was a hit, Doug had officially entered hell alive, and was truly the beginning of his modern laughingstock reputation. The reason many people turned against him, perfectly captured on tape in the 3rd Channel Awesome anniversary special for the 4th anniversary, Too Boldly Flee. Like I said, in 2012, Season 5 of the Nostalgia Critic started with episode 193, and was seemingly the start of the intended final season of the Nostalgia Critic. So, over the course of the next 8 months, Doug made 29 more Nostalgia Critic episodes, with the last proper episode being Scooby-Doo 2002, releasing on August 14th, 2012. However, there was some fanfare for the intended final season of the Nostalgia Critic, with Doug counting down his personal favorite episodes episodes and ranking the worst movies of what he's reviewed and his favorite moments from the series. And after Scooby-Doo 2002, he made a guest appearance on his fellow contributor's Phalis review of Child's Play 3 on August 22nd, 2012. However, on the next day, August 23rd, 2012, I think it is the exact day that Channel Awesome died. Not bankrupt, but it was the end of an era of it having street cred in internet culture. To boldly flee, much like Suburban Knights, attempts to scale up the production, with this one having a runtime of 3 hours, 25 minutes, and 32 seconds long, not counting credits. That is almost the length of the previous two combined. That is longer than Schindler's List, The Godfather 2, Mad World Bimmy Approved, The Hateful Eight shortened version, and Return of the King shortened version. And keep in mind, Kickassia didn't even need to be feature-length. 3.5 fucking hours of this shit? Much like Nostalgia Critic's reviews, quantity over quality and barely condensed. So, because of Matee's ashes getting yeeted into the stratosphere, an intergalactic threat, a plot hole is present, which is one of many conflicts in the movie, and Nostalgia Critic is under house arrest for copyright infringement. Yeah, so this movie kind of has a satirical element of mocking YouTube's strict copyright conditions, which could have been funny, but isn't. And who's responsible for legal prosecution? Terrell from Battlefield Earth, who is in a similar realm to the Matee parody character and is important to the plot. But Terrell is a terrible choice because Battlefield Earth is a notoriously bad movie in which Nostalgia Critic reviewed for his 100th episode in fucking season 3, making the series finale a follow-up to episode 100. Battlefield Earth is a movie based off a Scientology novel, and we all know how well-made shows made by cults are, am I right? Starring big-name Scientologist John Travolta. Except, like, nobody's gonna know what that is unless you were a die-hard Nostalgia Critic fan, or a Scientologist. Making shit nobody knows, limiting the chances of comedic potential. Like, I was born in the W. Bush years, so the only exposure I have of Captain Planet was a Smosh parody.
Yeah, I'm serious. Hey kids, you want to go save the planet?
And Smosh is also man-children running amok in cosplay, but nowhere near as bad as Nostalgia Critic. Oh, look, it's Matee. But he's not the punchline. The main recognizable character is. Guys, as bad as Family Guy cutaway gags can be at times when they mock licensed characters, at least it's always like Fred Flintstone or whatever, not fucking Peter Potamus. Who the fuck is Peter Potamus? I don't fucking know. Not my fucking problem, because he's not the one being mocked.
Breaking! These are the crimes by the internet personality Nostalgia Critic, and I will not rest until he faces the cool hand of justice!
You see, this is when Doug Walker's production value in general starts to become Super Thinks on Cups rap battles.
You look like Coolio trick-or-treating as Jack Sparrow.
Oh, so that's how
Spoonie is white. That doesn't make any fucking sense.
So, Nostalgia Critic is placed on house arrest, and it turns out Spoonie is possessed by Matee. So, due to the multiple threats he's facing, it's once again time to spend an unnecessary amount of time assembling Doug's shitty YouTuber army. And this is the part of the YouTube video called a film where it progressively relies on parody humor and has some of the worst parody humor ever conceived by mankind. The parodies in this movie are barely condensed, much like Doug's analyses. It's the bare minimum of parody. It often just comes off like theft at times. So Obi-Wan Kenobi, I think, shows up and dumps bad exposition because reference. And John Travolta Alien is also working for Palpatine because reference.
What? Yeah, shut this off. Shut this all off.
Shutting this off would have extremely dangerous consequences.
Guys, remember Ghostbusters?
Hey, this is private property. Shut this off. Shut these all off. I'm warning you, turning off these machines would be extremely hazardous.
Like, good Simpsons used to have like a shit ton of movie homages, but the Simpsons did it in ways that didn't disrupt the flow of the plot and added unique comedy to it, comedically retelling while casually incorporating, unlike this. But the joke here is that it's the movie, but it's with shitty YouTubers and it looks like shit. Like, what's new or likable about it? Fucking nothing. It's the bare minimum of parody. It's a smidge away from plagiarism. Well, I guess there's some comedy, but it's not funny.
Remind me to ask him if he's a transvestite.
Because exposition dump, Dr. Insano explains that there's a plot hole, a black hole that alters reality. So, fuck it, the shitty YouTuber army has to go to space because Star Wars and Trek, and the spaceship is just Doug's house. which could be a funny joke, but was clearly done to save money by not building sets and just being a house. Yeah, great CG. This is where they begin to experiment with CG. But John Travolta meets General Zod from Superman, played by Doug, meaning that Doug plays both a hero and a villain, and yet another antagonist. And they even turn their spaceship into a house, meaning that the cinematography is even more indistinguishable now. Like, I get it? It doesn't look like a Star Trek space deck. It's a basement. You better think that punchline is hilarious, because it's the same joke repeated over and over again. Ha ha. It's a house. Man, it's almost like there's a magic word to describe the fluff in the movie. Oh yeah, wait, I know.
'Cause this is filler, building up the time. An hour and a half is just too long for uncreative minds. Woo-hoo.
So then Linkara begins to attack the Nostalgia chick.
Nostalgia, Linkara, you know, there's a meeting downstairs and... I'm gonna give you 2 a month.
What the hell is taking them so long?
Young Brain, you look as if you heard 2 people having sex.
How would you know?
I'm French. We know.
Well, are they coming?
Well, that's a loaded question.
What?
Oh, nothing. They're getting busy, keeping busy with heterosexual extracurricular activities.
Whatever. I'm just making sure.
And I play this clip in full context because the scene was accused of being a rape scene, and out of all the allegations made against Doug Walker by his former associates, this is the only one with some evidence. Because if you read the script, Linkara seemingly rapes a Nostalgia chick, but this is altered to the point where consensual sex is mistaken, but it's not sex, it's an assimilation, turning Nostalgia chick into a cyborg. So it was intended to be a rape scene. But Lindsay Ellis was such a bullshitter for acting like she was forced to do this, even if it wasn't a rape in the end, considering she made the rape rap sketch.
Yo, I'm set up porno taping. I need it like a wild ape ad. My penis is bent and misshapen, so I'm spending my nights out raping.
That was good. Brian?
And Doug probably thought the original rape version of the scene was hilarious, considering he later made the Sailor Moon teenage boner sketch. And because this movie needed another antagonist, it's confirmed to the audience that Linkara isn't actually on deck, it's Mecha Kara, an antagonist from Linkara's Atop the Fourth Wall. But like, why should we care? It never establishes who Mecha Kara is. And this is when the movie just becomes complete random bullshit. That's the bare minimum of parody. Cinema Snob gets captured by Hollywood, and it's just a shitty Revenge of the Sith parody.
Join me, and I can complete your training. Imagine what we could accomplish in the...
I can't fucking hear you, Brad.
When he said big Hollywood Coke party, I'm not exactly sure this is what I had in mind. Come on, guys, it's a party.
And return tomorrow night. You should have gone tomorrow, yesterday, and back today. But
and here's CR and Jesu Taku. Hey, what are you guys working on?
Well, we both had the same dream, like someone was telling us to build something, so we started...
the train that goes tomorrow is a mile upon its way. If you had gone tomorrow yesterday, now don't you see? You could have gone tomorrow and returned today at 3 for the train today, tomorrow.
The world is changing, kid. The internet is changing. Even if we survive.
Calm down, Abbott. We your friends.
Shut up, Russ. I'm gonna kill you. But Apollo, why can't we make amends?
Shut up, Mushmouth. I'm gonna kill you. Oh, honey child, why can't we just work it out? Shut up, Aunt Jemima. I'm gonna kill you. Oh, Fat Eye, but please don't act like that. Shut up, Bill Cosby. I'm gonna kill you.
Whoa. Where am I? You're in Spoonie's perception. Everything.
Cause I'm Slim Shady, yes, I'm the real Shady. And look at Kim Shady, she just got degraded by some bird. Yes, bird. She ate it with her lips, biatch.
1, 2, 3 into the 4. Whoop, ducky, duck, and 2 quack hopped on your hoe.
And then we get a song number, which could be worse if you know what I'm saying. Then we get more plagiarism and Doug drives in a car into space in a plot hole, and the big reveal, the Nostalgia Critic meets Doug Walker.
The world of endless possibilities, the great mystery? Or a world where you know you have meaning and purpose?
It's 3 minutes of Doug sucking himself off. The man's ego is off the rails here. But then actual Linkara shows up in his spaceship, which he has, which the movie also expects you to know. But it turns out the nerd was responsible for this the whole time, I think. And then, Nostalgia Critic dies. Good. Which, of course, in the Channel Awesome Multiverse of Madness of sorts, is later retconned. Because his next series, Demo Reel, featuring the epic supervillain Shuffle.
I was a nice guy, but now I'm deranged. Determining my future on the back of change. My attitude can turn on the flip of a dime. Boy, I tell you, this deal's getting worse all the time.
Which bombed.
Supervillain Shuffle son or rape rap daughter.
Has Doug's new character, Donnie Dupre, become the Nostalgia Critic? Like Steve leaving Blue's Clues and Joe taking over, but it's the same person playing the same character? Meaning that the torch was passed, but it has zero significance because it's the same fucking person. If you can call To Boldly Flee a movie, it is one of the worst movies ever made. I'd rather binge-read this show. And I try not to throw that phrase around too much, but I seriously fucking mean it here if it even qualifies as one. It's good at speaking for itself and how shit it is. But to truly understand it, you'd have to actually watch it. But don't do that. It has zero ironic redeeming qualities. It's not worth your time to truly understand how bad it is.
Well, Mr. Doug Walker, I've got one thing to say to you. You're a poopy head.
And then, everything fell apart after this. So is Nostalgia Critic worth the hate? Well, let's find out. So, this is the Nostalgia Critic.
Graphics are giraffe jizz, and because the control is so floaty, you go up so high, and you're always bouncing on shit, you're always airborne, like Donald Dick is on the fucking moon. So repetitive, so boring.